My big suggestion to students, particularly through high school, is
You can do anything.
Choose it for you, not for
It is worth it.
Just focus on the next
Doesn't
step.
matter what you're doing.
Don't be afraid.
As long as you're doing
That
something.
is such good advice.
I don't think I could see myself doing
It's a
anything else.
challenging life.
Student nights, Wednesday to
Oh,
Saturday.
I worked on that house.
I racked up every single dollar of debt that I
I
possibly
think there's
could.
a lot of pressure on high school.
Yeah,
kids
I just
these days,
love
right?
working outside.
And if money is something that you care a lot
In
about,
hindsight, that
I've
was,
also been a very indecisive
But you
person.
keep looking for roads that have been less
it
travelled.
was just that moment that I knew what I wanted to do. So nothing else is going to change that.
Welcome to the guest speaker.
It was only about a week or two ago Grace got engaged, and she has unlimited budget for this wedding of hers. So I've suggested she should fly you over and be the sort of personal stylist. But so yeah, congratulations, Grace, on that engagement. Wonderful. And also, Jamie, you're our first for 2026, and what a way to start. Like when I looked you up and I saw this article, it was like, what amazes me is these Kiwis around the world doing these things. I don't think 99% of us know about. So really, really cool. So thank you for being here. So my start is this. There are many young stylists rustling around in classrooms across New Zealand right now. Students who love doing their own hair, their friends' hair, and sometimes their parents. Hair and makeup is a career pathway built on trust and a great deal of responsibility, because let's face it, we've all had a bad one. Case in point, today those students will hear from Jaime Leigh McIntosh, a proud New Zealander who is at the top of her game. You are widely acclaimed in the global film industry, and your journey highlights the incredible potential of a career in hair and makeup, and we're excited for students considering this career pathway to learn from you and seek an equally successful and fulfilling life. Your schooling started attending Kaimai Primary School and then Katikati College, navigating those early decisions about what might come next. From there, you followed your passion into hairdressing, studying at the Bay of Plenty Polytechnic, completing an apprenticeship in Waihi and working in local salons, cutting hair for everyday New Zealanders while quietly mastering your craft. But curiosity had other plans. After seeing a behind-the-scenes documentary about the film industry, you realised there was a whole world of hair and makeup beyond the salon. That moment sparked a new direction, leading you to Christchurch's Design and Arts College, which we'll talk about, to train in makeup and design and eventually into the world of film and television. Today, that journey has taken you all the way to Los Angeles, where you are now working at the highest level of the industry. You are a BAFTA and Emmy Award-nominated hairstylist. You have served as hair department head on major productions, including Oppenheimer, Babylon, Blonde, and Don't Worry, Darling. You've also been a personal stylist for stars such as Michelle Pfeiffer, Florence Pugh, Margot Robbie, Harry Styles, and for all the women out there, Brad Pitt. You've been quoted as saying that hair and makeup, that team are often the first people actors see each day, and that you help set the tone on set. You've shared how every actor is different. Some want to talk, others are quiet, and how reading the room, respecting their process, and working efficiently is your critical role. Despite working with some of the world's biggest names, I read that you are also the most starstruck with Sir Gary Oldman. The moment where you run home to tell mum about that experience in Tauranga and sort of, probably shaking with joy. This episode is for students at the beginning of that career journey, for aspiring hairdressers, for lovers of fashion, glamour, beautiful hair, and for those who have ever wondered who is behind the hairstyle of the rich and famous, or how to work behind the scenes in hair and makeup on movie sets. Your story shows that trade pathways can lead to global careers, that creative passions are worth backing, and that saying yes to opportunity can change everything. Welcome to the guest speaker, and thank you for answering my question online to say, would you join us? And the fact you said yes is really exciting. Cool to have you as a New Zealander doing what you're doing too, really proud. So really important day for us to share that story with kids and parents and teachers. Can I take you back, Jamie, to your school? I know initially you said it was written you grew up in Cambridge, and I thought, oh my goodness, I may have come across you because that's where I spent some time, but you didn't. So yeah, your schooling and your education, how did that springboard happen for you?
I just have to say, wow, well done with your research. And you're making me sound really fancy, so thanks. Yeah, I was born in Cambridge, but we didn't stay there long. Mum and dad had dad worked on a dairy farm there. And we moved to Katikati. And so I went to Katikati Primary, and right across the road from there in the small town was Katikati College. So, yeah, and it's a pretty small school. It's a small town. I'm sure it's grown massively now. But yeah, I never, ever at that point thought that I would be where I am now.
No, no.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you want to know about the school,
Well,
Emily?
what sort of kid would, because I suppose what we're trying to get, there'll be kids sitting there wanting to know maybe even what subjects you took, what you enjoyed, whether you were already even beginning to dabble in that here. I said there'll be kids heading home after school and they're practicing with their, their scissors and all the rest of it. Was that something that was already happening for you? Were there subjects that resonated with you or not?
I mean, when I was little, of course, I would play with my doll's hair. I would play with mum whenever, like, she'd get her on the couch and kind of give her pigtails and all that kind of stuff. I never went to the salon as a kid. Like, mum would cut my hair with the kitchen scissors. So I don't know at what point I kind of thought, hey, I want to be a hairdresser. But what did happen when I was in primary school, and I think I must have been maybe about 8 or 9, our teacher got us to write a letter to ourselves. So it's like, "Dear Jamie," and we had to put in it kind of what we loved about school, what what our least favorite thing was about school, and also what we wanted to be when we grew up. And that letter went home with a little note to the parents to be like, hold on to this until their 21st birthday and they can open it up. So I forgot, mum forgot, 21st went away. When I turned 22nd, she was like, oh my, when I turned 22, she was like, oh my God, there's a letter. And I was just like, oh yeah, I remember. And before I opened it, I kind of just had a moment of trying to remember what I had actually put in there. And I had remembered putting that I wanted to be a flight attendant, which was like an air hostess, what it was called back then, or a ballet teacher, because I did ballet when I was younger. But I had completely blocked out that the first thing I actually wrote in that letter was that I wanted to be a hairdresser. And I still to this day I didn't know any hairdressers. I don't even know where I got that idea from.
No.
But it was so solidly kind of planted in there. And then when I went into high school, I didn't spend a lot of time so much on my hair or friends' hair or anything like that. It wasn't like this side passion that I do hear about a lot of people in my craft have. But I think I just always knew that, yeah, I'll go through high school and I don't need to go to university because I want to be a hairdresser. And I just don't know. It was just in my brain, planted there, and I was just like, that's what's going to happen. And I think, I don't know what everything's called now, but it was like sixth form, so I was like 16. What's that now? I don't know.
Yeah, 12, yep.
Year 12. And I kind of got halfway through that and was kind of, not as interested in my schoolwork and had in my mind, like, I want to be a hairdresser and do I need all this stuff? I don't know. And, just kind of slacking a little, which wasn't great. But the dean came up to me and was just like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you're not really, you're not coming to school every day and you're kind of, you've dropped off a little. So what's the plan? And I just immediately was like, well, I want to go into hairdressing. And he was like, oh, okay, well, this is great. Something he could work with, obviously. And got me a bunch of information. And there was something that they had back then which was some type of correspondence courses for hairstyling. So he signed me up for that. And that was, I don't know what that was. It was just like there was a few periods a week that's what I would concentrate on, was doing that work. And that was just like a basic understanding of like hair and how it grows and the hair shaft and like all that type of stuff. And then he also helped me apply for a first year of hairdressing at the Polytechnic. So I just did that. And then he kind of left me alone.
Yeah.
And
That is
it was
his,
just,
that is
"Oh,
his
she
name
knows what
because
she wants to do."
I feel like we need to put a shout out for this guy because he wants to claim you.
Yeah. Well, it was Mr. Meads. But yeah, that was, yeah, he just kind of let me, obviously I wasn't going in the wrong direction. I just wasn't as interested in what I was doing at high school anymore. I knew what I wanted to do, and yeah.
Did you see snippets, maybe then more of your personality as a kid that might have resonated with hairdressing? Not that there's necessarily, I mean, some hairdressers can be quiet, others can be flamboyant, but did you get a feeling? I mean, were you into any sort of theatre, any sort of, personality-based sport or anything, or were you pretty grounded and
I think I was pretty shy. I would say that mainly a little introverted, except when around my friends, I'd be like, "Woo!" But yeah, I don't know. I do remember in high school at one point thinking that maybe I wanted to go into beauty therapy, and then going into the library at the high school and finding, I don't know what they had there, but there was some information on, what that is, because I'd never been to a beauty therapist, so I didn't really know what it was, but it sounded nice. And then there was like this list of all the services and all the things that beauty therapists do. And I think what kind of made me go, "Oh, no, 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 I'm gonna stick with hairdressing," was just like the waxing I didn't want to do. And there was like bikini waxing. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I want to do that. I think maybe I'll just stick with the hair on the head. So I was like, oh, that sounds nice. Like it's a nice variety that beauty therapists do. But I was just like, I'm not as interested in the skin and all that kind of stuff as I was with, playing with hair and making it look fun. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that transition was obviously cemented at some point. Funny thing is, I resonate with what you're saying. At some early age, someone said, "What do you want to be?" And for some reason, I plucked teacher out, and I don't know why. And so, look, I get that. And maybe there's kids sitting there going, "Yeah, I said lawyer, and maybe that's where I'm going." So I kind of like that. So yeah, so you left, and then what was this training like? What sort of things did you learn? Because that was at the Bay of Plenty Polytech, was it?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
can you talk us through that?
yeah, so you can with hairdressing go just straight into a salon and do an apprenticeship. I didn't feel like at like 17, 18, I was quite ready to go into the workforce. I felt like I was still wanting to be in some type of schooling. I guess I just didn't feel mature or grown up enough to kind of deal with the world right right then. So yeah, it was a 1 year, and it kind of that took care of almost like it replaced the first year of what an apprenticeship would be in a salon. So it was going through all the basics of, learning how to shampoo somebody's hair, learning about, customer service and how to greet your client and consultations. And they went over a little bit of everything throughout that year. Um, Coloring and cutting and roller setting and all the things that hairdressers kind of do in the salon. Um, and then at the end of that year, it's just like, okay, well, if you want to keep going, then you have to find a salon that's willing to take on an apprentice and continue your training. And then once you're in a salon, like I think I was going back to the Polytech like 1 day a week, to continue on and sit small little exams and tests and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Were you getting a feeling at any point there that you were quite good? Obviously, you hadn't dabbled a lot as a kid, where some kids might already be trying to cut hair. Was mum still cutting your hair? Were you getting your hair cut at this point? And were you getting a feeling at any point you might be good?
I think by that point I had been to a salon a couple of times. I'd had my hair done for the school ball and had it cut a couple of times in salon. I went in to get the Rachel Friends haircut at one point with all the layers and all that kind of stuff. Obviously very 90s. So I had a bit better, and I've done some work experience, I think, in salons as well, and gone into the local salon that did hairdressing competitions and all that kind of stuff, and spoke to the owner in there about like what is what's expected, what is the job, what is it all about. I will say that if anybody does do that and they have a negative experience, to maybe not pay so much attention, because when I did go in to talk to that salon owner, she was really quite negative and was almost trying to push me away from what I was wanting to do. And I have no idea why. It could have been really discouraging. And I remember coming out and kind of mum was like, how was that? And I kind of repeated some of the stuff that she said. And mum was like, well, are you going to listen to her? Are you going to keep going with this? And I was like, oh, I'm going to keep going. It just kind of put more fuel on my fire to just be like, she doesn't know me. Like, well, I'm just going to keep going. Like, yeah, it was a really weird interaction that, we come across sometimes, that someone's, I don't know why, trying to bum a teenager out.
Yeah. No, that's
But, yeah.
such good advice for anyone, isn't it? You could rock up to a building site, you could attach yourself to a teacher, and if they're having a miserable time, like you said, it doesn't mean you are going to. You've got to keep that positive. Find the next one and the next one and the next one, because
Yeah.
not everyone loves their job. You do. That's great. And that's why
Yeah.
it's important.
I will just circle back on that, though, that the good thing is that kind of saved her from that, I think, is that was when I was in high school and I spoke to her about that. And then I went off to do my polytech course. And then I think I must have circled back around to let the salons in town know that I had done that and I was looking for an apprenticeship. And it was actually her that recommended me to the first salon owner that I went and worked for. So she must have been like, oh, okay, she didn't give up. She did keep going. Maybe there's something there. So So
That's a good call out. Sorry, I love them. Before you ask the next one, at any point, just back to the polytech element, you were learning a lot. Like, even just some of those topics you covered was quite vast compared to, and again, we're going back to these memories, but you said, like, sixth form, you just weren't really feeling it because you weren't that interested in the subjects. Did that happen with the academic part of polytech, or did you find that once you were there, all that interest and enthusiasm came back? Just curious about that academic element in polytech, and did it engage you, or was there still some of that, like, resistance?
No, I was fully engaged to the point where it was like, if you were asking before whether I felt like I had an idea whether I was any good at it, it was, you're in a classroom with a whole bunch of other people who you think are as passionate and wanting to learn all this stuff as much as you are, and just kind of messing around and then getting kind of, going, why does yours look so good? And it's just like, well, because I care. Like, if I really want to do a good job and I'm here to, like, do this is what I want to do. And I do think that there is a decent amount of people that go into hairdressing thinking it's something that it's maybe not, that it's easier than they think it is. And I could kind of just feel that from within the students in my class, that those that were really taking it seriously, they were doing a good job, and those that were just kind of like, oh, I thought this was going to be like just doing pretty hairdos all day. I didn't know that there was actually work involved.
Yeah.
Whereas I was enjoying all those challenges and enjoying learning all this new stuff, that I was just like, yeah, this is amazing. Like, show me more. I want all of it.
Well, so much so that then you contact all the salons back in your hometown, right? Like, even that just speaks volumes to how much you really wanted it and wanting to learn. So thank you, because I wanted to point that out in terms of sometimes kids listening or students listening might not have an enthusiasm for learning, but no, it's not that they don't have enthusiasm for learning, it's the subject. So I love that for you, once you were in that environment, like you said, you were wanting to learn, and that's that big difference. So if people are not feeling it in school, maybe it's just because English or math or whatever it is isn't what's going to light the fire. So thank you.
Yeah. And I think just being a hands-on creative person, that I maybe didn't take subjects that I should have. I should have maybe, concentrated more on the art subjects and things like that to actually be more of a creative than not. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jamie, at what, because your path could have led you into working at Waihi for the rest of your life in a salon. It didn't. I've sort of suggested, I think, where your turning point where it went, where it was possibly Christchurch, but I don't want to say that for you. When did you start to get a feeling, I want to be more? And how did that go for you, or when did that feeling come across?
Yeah, it's the same type of thing of not knowing what it was, but I knew that I wasn't going to be in this salon forever. And I think I remember having that conversation with that first salon owner, and because she was talking to me about, catwalk stuff and fashion and all this type of thing. And she didn't touch on film or TV, but I was just like, yeah, there's something else that I want to do. I know I can't walk into the same place and do the same thing every day forever. I need like a much wider range of variety to keep me challenged and interested. And the time that I spent in the salon, I loved it, but I just always knew from the beginning that I didn't know where that path was going to go, but I just knew it was going to be somewhere else, but still doing hair. So, yeah.
So that's where the Christchurch idea came in.
Yeah, so I watched, I remember my dad saying something about he was watching like Entertainment Tonight or something, and he was just like, oh, they had this like celebrity hairdresser on there, like maybe you could do that. And I was just like, haha, no. It's like, you're crazy. Like, why? No, that's impossible. How, what? And I think back and I'm just like, wow, that's really positive of him. But, he was dreaming big for me, but I was just like, I can't even imagine how someone does that. Like, that's not a thing. And then I watched that, behind the scenes, Full Tilt Boogie, it's called. It was this like a behind the scenes movie length of From Dusk Till Dawn, and saw all the behind the scenes hair and makeup people and just was like, wow, that looks amazing. And then I somehow, like, listen, my memory is terrible and I don't even know how I found out all this information back then. It's like so much easier now with the internet.
Yep.
You just Google everything. But I don't know how I worked it out to find out how to work in television and film in New Zealand, and whether you could just be a hairstylist doing that or whether you needed to do makeup as well. And I'd somehow found out that you needed to do hair and makeup. So I thought, well, okay, the next thing I need to do is learn makeup. And I was just like, that sounds cool. Like, it all goes together, so that, why not? That's another creative, practical thing I can do with my hands. And then, looked at the different courses that were available, and the one in Christchurch was the longest, which I appreciated because I just felt like just knowing how long it took me to learn what I had to that point in hairdressing, I thought there's no way I can learn all this makeup stuff in 3 months. So I'll take the longer course. And it had photography and other stuff mixed into it as well. So it just felt a little bit more well-rounded, I suppose. Yeah.
Yep. And what did you learn there? Was it quite, I mean, it's here, mate, but how did it escalate?
It's funny because I felt like I learned so much, but like nothing at the same time. Like, you leave and then go into the world in that world and you're like, I don't know anything. But it was makeup design and production. So yeah, I don't know. Wow. For me, I was learning a lot quickly because I wasn't a big makeup person. I didn't wear a load of makeup. I hadn't really done other people's makeup so much. So it was learning from the beginning, like the scratch, like right from the start. And it was everything. It was beauty makeup. It was correctional makeup. It was special effects makeup. It was all sorts of, a little bit of everything. And then also the other side of the industry of just like how that works, and going over like what it's like to be on set and what's expected of you, and how when you read a script, like how to read it so that you're looking at it from the hair and makeup point of view, and taking the notes and knowing what you need to do to fulfill that job. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to take in, but it had so much fun. And another reason why I actually took that course was that the head tutor was BBC trained in England, and I just thought that appealed to me as well. Just that her background was just quite significant and solid. So yeah.
Are these things still available? Are there more of them? Do you know that, like even that course, is it still going? You wouldn't know?
I have no idea. I feel like there's probably more now, but yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
there's Cut Above used to do one. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't
No,
know it.
no, we'll look into it.
Mm.
When you said script,
Mm.
you read a script. Is the
Mm.
script written, like I'm an actor, I've got to learn my script, but there's side notes about what they might look like, or are you having to interpret as the artist, it's 1950s, it's a period drama, I've got to go away and think that's how I'm going to get them to look and pitch that to the producer, or how does that all work?
Well, yeah, you get the script, and there's not just their lines that are in the script. There's descriptions of what's happening in each scene, or there may be small descriptions of what someone looks like, or there might be like really detailed descriptions of what they look like. It just depends, I suppose, what the writer has had in mind. But you kind of read it, take down little notes and ideas. I had somebody say to me a little while ago that when she reads it the second time, she reads it and tries to think about it as a silent film, and that whatever you can do with the hair and makeup to help tell the story, which I thought was a really good way to look at it as well. So, and you also have to read the script and know it really well to understand all your characters' journeys and what they go through, because everything is shot out of order and out of sequence. So you need to understand the continuity of everything, like where somebody starts, like if they go for a swim and their hair's wet and this and that, and so every scene you need to understand what they are supposed to look like. And that's a big part of your job, really.
Because we've all sat next to the woman in the movies, I'm referring to my wife, where the woman gets beaten to death through a forest and comes out looking beautiful. Like, how does she keep her hair like that? Can I go back? I've jumped a little bit. How did you go from the New Zealand scenario training, what you were doing, I suppose, to becoming who you are? What was that? How did you get there? Who noticed you? What did you apply for, leading towards who you are today?
Yeah. I think so. When I finished that course, I went back to Tauranga and ended up, because I was just like, oh God, how do I get work in this industry now? Like I've got no idea. It's not like in the film industry they advertise in for positions. It's not a thing. So it's not like you could, back then look in the job section of the newspaper and try and find a job. It just wasn't a thing. So it was trying to find as many contacts as I could somehow and reach out to people to let them know that I exist, to be like, hey, my name's Jaime Leigh, I'm originally a hairstylist and I did this course and I would like to work in this industry, and just, let people know that I exist and would very much like to work in the industry. But until then, I went back and worked part-time in a barber shop, because I was just like, well, the barber shops are normally pretty easygoing with people coming and going. You just, turn up, cut hair, leave. So I was doing that for a while, and I got a phone call while I was at work and called them back, and it was a production that was going to be happening in Wellington, and they needed a trainee. So, I didn't have to have experience, which was incredible. And they had got my name from my tutor in Christchurch. So obviously, if you do a good job when you're in your training and at school, the tutor's going to pay attention. And, when somebody comes to them and says, did you have any students last year that were awesome? You can be that person. And this was like a Wednesday, I think they got hold of me and they were like, can you start Monday? And I was just like, what? I'm in Tauranga. I'm like in the middle of working at this job and they need me to go to Wellington. Like, no, I can't do it. And I kind of freaked out and I was just like, no, I don't think I can make that work. And then a couple of hours later, I got a call from my tutor from Christchurch and she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, no, you need to think about this again and maybe go back and see if the position is still available and you need to make this work. And I was like, oh, I hear you. Okay, I hear you. So thank goodness, her name is Mitch Holding and she was, amazing. Like, I don't know how she tracked me down at this. Like, she called the barbershop to get me. So, like, the owner's just like, Jamie, there's someone on the phone for you. I'm like, okay. And I'm like in the middle of the barbershop on the phone to her. But then I called back and the position was still available. And I was just like, said to my boss, listen, I'll work until, Saturday. But on Sunday, I got to be driving down to Wellington to start this job. They were very understanding, thank goodness. And so started as a trainee on, I think, the Insider's Guide to Happiness. And they had 2 units shooting. So there was different hair and makeup people to work under, which was amazing. And the woman who was the head of department was telling me about how she had entered into the green card lottery and was going to be moving to Los Angeles. And I was like, what? Like, my ears just went, you need to, please, you have to explain to me exactly how to do this because this is what I need to do. Like that, I don't know. So many Kiwis head off to England and that didn't, it was kind of like, oh yeah, that could be cool. I don't know. But something about the States, I was just like, it's where the movies are made and okay, I gotta, So she explained that to me and every year after that I entered. So you can only enter once a year. So I did that for 5 years. And while I was, entering that, I was trying to get other work in New Zealand. And it was, I will say it is difficult because if you're good, it's not difficult to get work. And but there's just not a lot of it all the time. It kind of just comes in waves. So having that background as a hairdresser really helped me for the times that I didn't have film work. So I could go back to a barbershop and keep my hands in hair, keep doing what I enjoy doing, but still having some income. And then when that film came along, it was just like, yep, back, straight back into it. So I was lucky enough in New Zealand to work on I just can't even believe that my first movie set that I went on was Peter Jackson's King Kong, which is insane. Like that's not, it's like what? Did some great TV, New Zealand television. And the last job I did in New Zealand was the Hobbit trilogy. So that really gave me a incredible, a pretty solid 3 years of work, working with so many different hair and makeup artists, learning so much in that realm. And then, I got picked for the lottery. So I was like, okay, I'm moving to LA. That was daunting because I kind of had to start again here.
Yep.
Because they have a union. And all the decent budget films and TV shows are unionized. So if you're not in the union, you can't work on them. So it was just needing to jump through lots of hoops and work on really cheap budget little productions and all that kind of stuff to, it's very grounding. It's good.
Yeah. And the green card lottery is fantastic. But if people are listening thinking that's what I want to do, the word lottery indicates that there's a chance you can and cannot get it. And I'm glad it only took 5 years, but it still took you 5 years. I'm sure those years you didn't get it right was pretty tough. So
yeah, but at the same time, I think I kept just entering. Some years I was just saying, well, I don't really know if I want to move there anyway, but I'll enter just in case, and you never know. But in saying that, there is a pretty decent industry in Australia. There's a really great industry in the UK, all through Europe. Canada's got a pretty good industry. So there are options. It's not like the States is we have to go to work in television and film. And the thing as well for me is that when I came here, I had to choose one or the other. I couldn't do both makeup and hair. So so if you're in the union, you have to choose. You can't do both. So I dropped the makeup side of stuff because I was told by a couple of people that I knew that worked here that there were less hairstylists in the union and that I would probably get more work. And I think just because it was what I started off doing, that I was just like, oh, drop the makeup and stick with the hair. But most other countries in the world, you're doing both hair and makeup. So yeah, it's tricky.
Do you, I'm going to make myself sound good. Do you have a specialty with hair? Is there a thing that you find particularly is you? Like curling, colouring, I don't know, period stuff, I don't know.
I think there's been a couple of jobs that I will get hired because of my wig work, and there's actors that will hire me for my wig work. So yeah, that's probably one of my strengths and something that maybe stands out to people to be like, oh, get Jaime Leigh because she'll be able to do that.
Well,
So
on that, your Instagram, I stalked a little bit, even though I'm not supposed to. I did. And I just think anyone listening should go look at them. Like there's reels you've made of the process of one, you're working with Margot Robbie, and it's like how there was like 20 different possible wigs, and you're thinking, obviously your brain, you're thinking about the strategy and the time and how it all works together. But as just a viewer who then sees the final product, I'm like, no wonder her hair looks flawless the entire time. It's a wig. Like I wouldn't have known that. But there's kind of view you've done of that creative process, and it kind of harps back to your initial inspiration around film and television and whatnot. I feel like you're giving that to people like me who then get to watch that reel and go, oh wow, there's so much more to that than comes out at the end, because you make it look easy, right? When you're really good at something, it does look, but this remarkable.
thank you.
Yeah. Can we talk through some? I mean, I mentioned some of those names, the Brad Pitts and that. I mean, there'll be people now sitting here going, I've got to hear a little bit about those experiences and that connection and how you felt when you maybe cut your first famous person's hair, whether your hands were shaking, so the fame side of it, when you're a high-end industry like you are, how did you find it? And what are some of the little stories you've got or reflections?
I think you tend to build up to it. So it's not, I think it'd be very rare for you to like have your very first job and be like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by, Brad Pitt and Michelle Pfeiffer. Like that would be, I mean, that could happen, I suppose. And that would have freaked me out. But I think because I started off, with on New Zealand TV productions and meeting New Zealand actors that I'd been watching on like Shortland Street and all of that kind of stuff and being like, oh my God, cool. But then also just very quickly realizing that everyone's just human and they're all just people. So, don't freak out about it. Just continue to treat them well, and they, most of the time treat you well back. It's tiny moments of, I think the first time I saw Ian McKellen walk past me in this full Gandalf situation, kind of, I was like, oh my God. There's just the little nerd in me that was just very excited about that. And then, I don't think I get too stressed or starstruck or anything about it because they are just people. They're another client that I'm dealing with. And most of the time, I think what's really important to remember in this line of work, everything from working in a salon through to designing like motion picture films, like the hair, is that all of that is you facilitating what somebody else is wanting. So when you're in the salon, it is making your client happy. You want them to walk out feeling amazing. It's not me going, I think that you should have this and I don't want to hear about what you want to have. It's what they want, and you can help guide them to, you know, to help them be incredibly happy with that. And that goes right through to when you're dealing with, like, directly with your director. Like, I just finished working with David Fincher, and it was my job is to make that man happy, that director happy, and make my cast happy. I want them to feel like they are that character, and do that with through the hair. So it's just having those relationships with people and building that trust. And yeah, every now and again there's one that you meet that you're like, oh my goodness. And yeah, Gary Oldman was one of them. And he's the sweetest man, I will just say that. And then every now and again, like most of the time, I'm just getting on with my job and doing what I need to do to get the job done and get through these incredibly long hours that we work. But there is the odd occasion that I will be standing there on set or in the hair and makeup trailer doing my job, and I just become very conscious of where I am in the world and in my life. And I did that on my last job, and it was looking after Brad Pitt. And I just, in my mind, I was just standing there going, how the hell did I end up here? Like, how am I on this job where he has requested me because he needed a wig, and he was just like, I know who can do that, Jaime Leigh. And how am I here? Right? Like, how, this is insane. I don't understand what's happening. And you can't think about it for too long, because then you just kind of start freaking out like, oh, I shouldn't be here. This is crazy. And you just get on with your job. So yeah, it's a wild word.
It's part of why you're successful too, because you're not taking it for granted. That those pinch me moments should happen all the time, because when you're successful, you didn't think you deserved it, you earned it. Have you ever been like shoved in a plane and taken somewhere because someone wants a haircut, or someone's demanded you and you've sort of had to do something quite special?
No, I don't think so. Nothing that crazy. I've been to a few actors' houses to give haircuts and stuff when the writers' strike was on and stuff like that. But yeah, and you find yourself in these weird situations where you're just like, what? I think when the writers' strike was on, and I had done a little bit of prep for A Complete Unknown, which is like the Bob Dylan thing with Timothée Chalamet in it, and he had been letting his hair grow, and he needed to go off and do something with like Paris Fashion Week or something, and he's just like, I want a hair, I need a haircut, but I don't want anyone else to do it because I need it how you need it for the film moving forward. So, can you come and cut my hair? And I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Hey, look, I have to ask, because I've asked nearly every guest, and Grace always laughs. But obviously, if you're in New Zealand and I'd say, how much does a hairdresser earn? You'd go, whatever. How do you work in terms of money? Because those scenarios you're talking about there, I mean, I don't imagine I don't know. It must be all over the place. And are you your sole agent? Are you setting prices for these people, or how does it work?
Yeah, so I think people would be surprised at how much a hairstylist can make. They're probably be just like, no, she's just a hairdresser. She can't make that much money. But yeah, I do all right. Yeah, surprising. I remember when I was at the makeup school, and the tutor said, you can earn up to $100 an hour. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Back then I was just like, that's insane. But I think, you can do really well. You can do really well in a salon setting as well. If you have like a really good clientele and you're good at selling product and selling your services and all that type of stuff, like you can make a really good living. Just know that it's not easy work. Like, you are standing all day. Can be pretty demanding with what your clients are wanting. And then same with the film industry. Like, I work a minimum of like 10 hours a day through to like 18 hours a day. So it's a lot of hard work. It's challenging. But I will say, like, if you love it, then,
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier.
I have a friend who she does, I can't even say it right. She's on the camera crew. That's it. And she's been similar. She had someone looked out for her, got her onto some of the Peter Jackson stuff in New Zealand, and now she's traveling doing it. But when you mentioned the hours, like there's some days where you're on for 18 hours because when the conditions are right and if something needs to be filmed, like I'm thinking about all the details of hair and makeup. Obviously, you're doing hair because you had to pick one, but you're needed all the time. Like it's not like I'm please, I'm just projecting, so come in and correct me, but it's not like you do your job and go, cool, see ya. Like you have to be there the entire time it's shooting. And like you said, someone goes swimming and they come out. Is it really that intense as I'm thinking it is, where it's like you're there from every day for as long as they need you, right?
Yeah. So a normal shoot day. So when I say shoot day, it's like camera crew call to like how long they shoot for. It's normally around about 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
But we need to have people ready before that 12 hours starts. So we might have what you call a pre-call and come in like 1 to 3 hours before most of the crew are even getting there. So we have to have those actors come in, get them ready. So they're fully ready to go by the time the director gets there and most of the other crew get there. And then we shoot. And yeah, we're traveling to set with our cast and watching them all day. So, for makeup artists, the lipstick wears off, things move and change and all that type of stuff. So you need to, and same with hair, so you need to maintain everything throughout the day. And then if you're shooting different scenes, there might be different looks that you need to change them into. And you need to be on set when your actors are on set because you just need to be paying attention all the time. It doesn't mean physically that you're always doing their hair, but you need to be watching the monitor and watching what they're shooting to make sure everything's looking how it should look. And how that kind of works within your day is that they will have like a rehearsal. They'll rehearse the scene and they'll do that on camera so you can look at a monitor and kind of see what the camera is seeing. And then they'll call last looks, or in New Zealand they call final checks. And that's when hair, makeup, costume, props, anyone that needs to fix something or change something from what they've just looked in the rehearsal, they go and do that quickly, in and out, and then go back, and then they actually start shooting the scene. And if you need to, adjust or fix or reset anything after each take, then you need to be there for that. So, yeah. And then at the end of the day, once the camera wraps, if you're lucky, you can just kind of go. But if you've got wigs or tidy up or anything like that, then you need to stay afterwards to like take their wig off, take their hair down, reset the wig, all that type of stuff. So that might be, 1 or 2 hours at the end of the day as well. So, yeah.
And you having to sign an NDA? Because I'm just thinking, like, when you said Timothy Chalamet, I'd be like, I'm a big fan, so I would be trying to put it on my story. I'd be like, this is happening in the movie, because I'm not cut out for that industry, right? I'm not a keeper. But you are not only close to the actual like intellectual property of whatever's being shot, but the celebrities, themselves, the artists. Is there quite an intense NDA element in some of these things?
Yeah, I mean, each production will get you, like the studios will get you to sign an NDA, which is, what does that stand for? Non-disclosure.
Non-disclosure agreement. Yeah.
Yeah, just pretty much meaning that I'm not allowed to, tell the world what happens in the script. And it's normally before you get the script handed over to you. So it's just, they don't want you to be talking about what it is that you're doing until the movie comes out. And you can be like, well, yeah, that's what happens. And you can watch it. I will normally let people know if they ask, like, what has already been released, because the studios sometimes will release, like, who's in it or what the general storyline is. And I feel comfortable. It's like, I can just repeat what they've released. I have had a couple of actors have me sign NDAs just simply to do with them. because you will be in situations where you're overhearing phone calls and private discussions and things like that, and they just want that extra level of, security and trust that you're not going to go and repeat what you've heard. That just generally is professionalism, like not repeating
Yeah.
things that you hear, or talking about what it is that you're doing. Because they don't want to feel like they can't just be themselves and live, and worried that somebody's going to be running to the tabloids to be like,
Because you're so
I've been paid.
Yeah, you're there so often. So that's an element. If people are listening and they think that maybe they need to work on like you said, they're not their secret keeping, but keeping things private. That is actually, I joke, but that's a huge part of it. When I was thinking of everything you do, is these people trust you, and Brad Pitt wants you because he knows you're talented, you're skilled, but you're someone who you want to have on the team. So that can't be understated, that clearly you must be very well regarded in the industry, obviously are, to have such a reputation. So kudos.
Yeah, you don't want to be all gossipy and
No,
I'm good.
Hey, Jamie, I've noted one thing here. You don't have an accent yet. I'm interested, just for kids who have a global aspiration. What's your relationship now between New Zealand and America? How do you arrange your life? What's your connection with New Zealand? I'm always fascinated with how people still associate with us, and whether it's still your real home, and how you feel about it and that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so glad I still sound like this, guys. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I don't want an American accent. New Zealand is still very much home. Yeah, it is, absolutely. I'm very, very proud to be from New Zealand. But I do feel myself going back there one day. Absolutely. I'd like to try and get home like once a year to see friends and family and everything, and honestly just touch the ground. I want to touch home. I want to breathe it in. I want to eat the food because it's so good. Guys, you've got such good food. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a proud Kiwi, and I let people know that I'm not Australian.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but
No.
yeah, I still really do relate to New Zealand and being Kiwi, and yeah, it is home.
Cool. Keep flying that flag. Hey, I just want to finish before Grace signs off with her last questions. The thing that struck me, I think, was it's your, like, when you talk about going to a barber's shop, you never had this ego. And I think it's served you really, really well, like even knocking on the doors of salons. And even now when I try and pry a little bit deeper into the higher end stuff, I think for young kids listening, they need to just pick up on that, on that thing you have to keep yourself level and grounded. You're not too good for anything or anyone. You might be nominated for stuff. You might be working in Hollywood, but you've got that real Kiwi relax thing, the Taika Waititi thing that everyone loves. And, I could almost picture you two chatting and it would be nothing. And so I think that's the message to me. If kids have these big aspirations and they want to be great hairdressers, makeup artists, into movies, they should take that away from today. But I just want to thank you for saying yes to this. Congratulations on your career. I think there'll be a lot of young kids, parents and that, who maybe the parent who, when the daughter or the son says, I want to be a hairdresser, and they go, oh, maybe not, like, I'm expecting better of you. This will be something they can pin their hat on and go, no, I want to be just like Jamie. So congratulations and thank you for today. It's been awesome.
No problem. I would just like to say that if anyone's wanting to hear more kind of career journey stories, I have a podcast that they could listen to, which is the Last Looks podcast. And that is talking to people from all around the world who do hair and makeup for film and television. And it just dives into, how they got started and where they did their training and how they got their jobs and just how they end up where they are. And there's Kiwis, there's Aussies, there's Canadians, there's English, American, all sorts of people. So it's a really good source of information, I think. Yeah.
That's perfect for us because if people are inspired, you've done all the mahi there. Thank you. One open-ended question and then a specific one, but is there anything that Ludlam and I didn't ask you during this? Granted, there could be a lot, but anything that comes to mind that we didn't ask you that you think we should have?
I think it's what you were just saying before. I think you just got to keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. And the main aim of the game is to do a good job
Mm,
and focus on the job and the work, not everything else. Because in the film industry, there's so much other stuff going on that you could get quite distracted by. And I think just turning up, being professional, and doing the best job that you can is probably an easier road. Is you're going to get further behaving like that. Yeah.
The last question we have is if you could go back to Form 6, Form 5, Jamie, and so you're giving advice to everyone else, but you to you, what advice would you give yourself if you went back to Form 6 and you could have that conversation?
I think through schooling in general, I probably would have focused on way more art.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. I really would have. A lot more. Yeah. A lot more. I would have wanted to get into more painting and drawing because I think it really would have helped me now.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm doing design work and stuff like that. I'm always just, oh man, I wish I could draw that. It's in my brain, but I'm terrible at drawing. So I think it would have been really good to focus on more of the art stuff in high school. Absolutely.
but yeah.
No, cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to take away from this. Your sort of story is the one I love the most because when you set out to the things you've accomplished on the way, like there are things that Form 6 Jamie would have no comprehension, like no way we're doing that. That's even though your young self knew you wanted to be a hairdresser, where you've taken it is beyond what I think anyone, and until speaking with you today, I knew that path existed. So that's exactly what we want to highlight on the guest speaker and inspire hopefully many people. And it might not be exactly what you do, but the fact that you've just said yes to opportunities, as Ludlam said, you said yes to today. It's really inspirational, selfishly for me, but also for the listeners. So thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do want to just say one boring thing that I wish they'd taught more in school was how to save money. Like how to be financially responsible. Not that I've ever been irresponsible, but I always just think back of just like, have so many friends and people that I know even now who I'm just like, wow, if someone had just put some solid groundwork in at some point to be like, okay, so when you go out into the world and you start getting a paycheck, you should put this aside and that aside, and you should, just start teach how to save. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes,
Be
no.
responsible with your money.
Yeah, especially with an industry like you said, sometimes it feels like there's droughts or famines or something between films, and like you said, the barber had being able to go back into and have an industry that welcomed that, obviously your reputation, but welcomes you back in. But a lot of people who work in the creative industries aren't getting a base salary or wages predictable. It's coming in waves. So that's just very practical advice.
Yeah. And I think because the way it works, you can get kind of excited that you get a job and you've got all this great money coming in. So you can just be like, woohoo. But actually, once that contract's over and that job's finished, you might not work for another 6 months. So it's just like, you just have to, think ahead. Be smart.
Yeah.
It's all very boring, but yeah.
No, you're the second person in 2 days to say the same thing to me. I interviewed a young girl, got her sorted for our podcast. Steph, she owns Soul Goods, this mineral sunscreen. But she said exactly the same as you. If only school had taught me that. So it might be something Grace and I look into is just, making sure that progresses and kids get a heads up. But wicked, and take care in LA. And thank you so much for chatting. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
This is
it.
awesome.